Hello everyone, Andrew Martin reporting live from the University of Warwick, and this is the Game of the Day presentation for round 3 of the 2015 British Chess Championship. And what a game we have for you today, a classic matchup between youth and experience. With white we have an 11-year-old prodigy, full of optimism and attacking flair, against with black, the old campaigner, a senior champion and grandmaster with brilliant technique. So welcome to Alex Golding versus Keith Arkell. Golding decided to play his habitual move e4, and Arkell comes out punching hard with a Sicilian defence. A clear sign that he wants to play uncompromisingly for the win. No Caro-Can today. And white, to his credit, takes black on in a line of the open Sicilian with an early d4. Arkell chooses the Taimanov variation in an old-fashioned guise with a6. Actually, Queen c7 is more commonly played today, and with this move black announces that he doesn't really see the need to play a6 until it's absolutely necessary, and possibly to avoid the type of variation we're about to see in the game, as after a6 Golding just snapped off on c6. Now hitherto this line has thought not to be too promising for white, because after b takes c6 black's just strengthened his centre. But e5 is the new twist, a very interesting move, a very sharp move, by which white drives a wedge into the black camp at an early stage. Clearly, if you decide to play this move, there's no way back, because you've committed your pawn. And black now has to find the best way to actually eliminate this pawn or to play around it. And as we'll see, this is actually not an easy task. So Keith kicks off by attacking the pawn, and white fluidly defends it by playing bishop f4. Queen e2 has also been played in this position, but to my eye that looks much less natural. Why does white need to block in the bishop on f1? Black rotates his knight around to attack the bishop. White plays bishop d3, and after knight g6, white's happy to take that knight off, producing a pawn structure for black, which makes it really difficult for him to bring all his pieces working in unison together. That is black's challenge as this game progresses. For white, the plan is much easier. He's going to mass his rooks and major pieces in the d file, hoping to nail that pawn on d7 down. So Keith played f5. Now, I would say the match-winning piece for black, if he can ever activate it, is the bishop on c8. That bishop on c8 is the piece that white can't contest. So you'd be expecting black to play c5 and bishop b7 before long, hoping to create some pressure down the long diagonal. White reinforces his pawn. Black plays rook b8, attacking b2. White defends it, bishop e7, and now the queen comes up to d2. Another very good move, positionally very well motivated. White's just thinking about the move bishop g5 at some point, exchange off the dark squared bishops, and then occupy the d6 pawn, d6 square. What could be more natural than that? So Keith plays bishop b7, and white goes bishop g5 as we expected. Black opens up the long diagonal. White's happy to take off the dark squared bishops, and now rook a d1. So all going according to plan for both players. Bishop c6, queen e3, and I think we can say that the opening is concluded and ended very satisfactorily for white. In fact, I actually don't like black's position. That pawn on e5 has been maintained, and it really is incredibly difficult for black to bring all his pieces into play working together. So Keith tries to activate his queen. White brings his rook in, and now queen to b4, hoping to keep the queen as mobile as possible. Who knows, maybe that queen can come across to the king side to create some pressure against g2 and h2. White doubles up, and now rook to h5. A useful square. Maybe black's going to double up. Maybe he's going to play queen h4 and rook g5. We don't quite know yet. But I think it's here that white misses an opportunity. Now he plays queen to d2, a natural move with some sacks on d7 in the pipeline. But I think what he should have played is a3, after which I think black's position becomes critical immediately. Now the point of this is that if black takes on a3, then knight a4 is a very good move, reinforcing the threat to c5, and if black takes, rook takes a6 is the point. I don't think this is a very good position for black, as white's getting ready for rook takes a4, and then c5 will drop. After a3, going back, can black play better? Well, he can try queen h4, but now the point is revealed after rook takes c6. This is a great move, just allowing black to take on h2, king f1, and I'm not sure the white attack can be repelled. There's no real problem for white. His king is quite safe on the back rank, and otherwise queen takes c5 check is going to be absolutely crushing. Going back to a3, it's hard to see other moves for black, given that moves like queen g4 are just going to be answered by rook takes c6 again. That's the point of playing a3 at this moment. So I think we can say that the move Alex plays in the game, queen to d2, although very natural, is perhaps costing him a little bit of time. Keith's defensive sense doesn't let him down. He plays rook e8, and now comes a3, a move later, whereupon black swings his queen across to h4. Well, once again, we have to consider what happens if black takes on a3. This time round, I think knight e2 is a very good move. Planning knight f4. And the time that black spent taking the pawn on a3 will prove very costly to him in this position. Immediately, I think after knight e2, black's in trouble. So going back to a3 at this moment, queen to h4, Alex defends with h3. And now I think Keith perhaps misses an opportunity with bishop takes g2. This is a surprising move, allowing white to take on d7, king f8, but black has many threats. And as far as I can see, white has got to liquidate here by playing rook to d8. After that, there will be some trades, and after king e7, we reach a roughly equal position. Was Keith back in the game after rook g5, playing for the win? Well, we'll see, as Alex comes in with rook takes c6. Incidentally, white could have played rook takes d7 check in this position, but rook takes c6 looks plausible, and then knight to a4. Incidentally, I think knight to e2 was possible once again, and could well be very strong. Again, aiming for the f4 square. Once that knight gets to f4, all manner of things can happen to black. But we can't blame him for playing knight a4. Arkell's king scurries away, and white gets the chance to take on c5. Rook h5 was played, queen d7 check, rook e7, and white takes on c6. So because of the lack of coordination between black's pieces, white can actually play this very slowly, and he should be winning. As we'll see, with black playing queen f4, now tragically I think white misses the win. He plays rook d7, which actually allows black to bail out with a draw. Let's just see it. Queen c1 check, very sensible by black. I don't think he should play anything else. This is the way to play. But if we back up to queen f4, Alex now misses the outright shot, queen to c8. And I think that's an absolutely winning move in this position, emphasising the lack of coordination between the black forces. I mean, first of all, black's got to find a move. The threat? Well, it's slow motion chess. White is intending to introduce his knight into the attack with moves like knight b7 and then knight d6 check, or knight d8. Let's just see a line. If black plays g5, knight b7. It's very surprising this. Black tries to run away with his king, and now knight to a5. Interesting move. If queen takes e5, white's got knight takes c6. And if we just drop back, if black decides to play g4 in this position, again, knight c6 is very strong. It's fascinating to see how slowly white can actually play this attack. But as I say, if we go back to the initial position after Queen f4, Queen c8, Black lacks the opportunity to get his rooks working together, and this makes all the difference. Well, that was a great shame. I mean, this was concluded a fine achievement by the young player. But as it is, getting a draw against Keith Arkell is a great achievement. So let's just see the finish. Black bails out with perpetual check, and there's nothing better. So a game which reflected credit on both players, very entertaining for the spectators, and well done to both players on an excellent encounter.